Thanks for coming.
I told you that I would.
Welcome to the NRA convention. You're my first official date to any NRA convention ever. For all the people that think that I'm like sort of a fake Republican, Second Amendment's rights is when I get like really conservative and it's like by far the most conservative part about my political ideology.
In terms of Second Amendment rights or Second Amendment enthusiasm?
Both.
Enthusiasm.
I support Second Amendment rights. I believe in the right to bear arms. I want to protect myself. And, I think it's definitely one of the main principles that keeps me very Republican. But not that it's necessarily a political ideology, because there's a lot of Democrats here as well.
But you and I have talked in the past about some gun rights restrictions that you think are sane, like the
jump right into this.
Well, yeah, I mean, because you say that this is a very conservative thing about you, but you, like Dick Cheney, supports the looking at those high-capacity magazines.
Well, this is where I started. This is where because I'm not an official NRA spokesperson. I'm just a member and enthusiast. But I have friends that work in law enforcement, and there really isn't a huge need for semi-assault rifles. And I just think that is not, as guns go, it's not really the gun I would use to protect myself at home necessarily. And I am for, as Dick Cheney is for, reanalyzing, walking around on the street with an M4, so to speak.
Or with the assault rifle ban, this came up after the Tucson shooting, right? Mm-hmm. So a normal clip for the Glock 19 is like 10 or 12 rounds.
Talking about the magazines, correct?
Yeah, and the Loeffner had two 33-round clips, and until 2004, he could not have bought that legally.
But he had a handgun and not a semi-assault rifle.
Right, but it was semi-automatic handgun with an extended capacity magazine, and the extended capacity magazines are part of what expired when the assault weapons ban expired. And so that particular thing about how many bullets you can put in the clip, that's a very controversial thing here. I mean, the NRA does not want to ban high-capacity magazines. And I think that a lot of NRA members would be okay with that.
Part of the problem, I do think a lot of members are okay with it. I am okay with it. The problem that NRA members have, and some of my friends that are, because I talk to every friend I know that is also part of the NRA, a girlfriend of mine is, where does it stop? If you start banning this gun, where does it end? And they're going to ban all guns, which I sort of understand the if you give an inch, they'll take a mile mentality, but I don't think it's the worst thing ever. And like I said, when people like Dick Cheney are also okay with it, it's not exactly the most conservative thing ever.
See, and that I feel like we, in the politics of this, it's always like you're either a Second Amendment person or you're an anti-Second Amendment person. And I think that you and I...
Tell me about your experience, and then I'll tell you about mine and why.
Well, I think you and I are way more similar on our politics on this, not because you're more liberal than you think you are or I'm more conservative, but because gun rights get talked about in a really stupid way. But what you're saying about how you don't really buy the slippery slope argument, I agree. Like, I think you can talk about how many bullets can be in the magazine. I think you can talk about whether you should have an M4 on the street without saying that you want to come into people's homes and take away what they're using to protect themselves or what they're using to hunt or what they're using for target shooting or whatever other reason they have it.
My perspective, and this is, again, why I felt compelled to sort of be a new face or just another face, because I don't think you see a lot of young women talking about Second Amendment rights and gun ownership. I'm a single woman living alone. I'm 5'1". And what I love about...
Not in those shoes.
I'm 5'3". And in these shoes. I'm very short. I know. But I'm not very strong. I've taken defense classes. I'm terrible. But I like the idea that a gun equalizes things for women if I'm attacked. My father's a well-known politician. It makes me feel safer. I have friends. It makes them feel safer. So,
do you think there's a risk to having a gun in your home, though?
Not if you take courses and you educate yourself and you train yourself. I'm a complete proponent for taking the right safety classes as well. Because you
just introducing a gun into a dangerous situation doesn't guarantee it's going to be pointed at the right person.
No, I definitely, you have to take safety courses and classes to understand how to use your gun in the appropriate way. And I don't know, my problem is when it becomes this, you own a gun, you're going to go out there and kill everyone and spray people, and this is the extreme view. And I understand the gun legislation laws, and it's very complicated, and this is a very complicated issue, but I don't know. I just always start getting cringy when I hear people, when tragedies happen and it's automatically pointed at NRA and gun owners.
Well, I made my case about that. Nobody's...
I hope I'm making my case.
Yeah, you are. No, but with the Tucson shooting, obviously the person to blame there is Gerald Loeffner. Mm-hmm. Gerald Loeffner would have only had 10 shots if the NRA hadn't pushed for the assault weapons ban to expire, including that ban on those clips.
But again, me and Dick Cheney and I are both for this. So.
Yes. And so as an NRA member, the NRA is not doing what you want. And they are the people who get to decide what gun policy is.
Nothing I'm involved with ever does exactly what I want ever. Never 100%. Gun laws tend to penalize gun owners and not criminals. And I think we need to do a better job of getting criminals off the street. Loeffner in Tucson was kicked out of school for having a mental illness. He wasn't allowed in the military. This is someone who should have been flagged by police officers and law enforcement a long time ago. Was someone that should never got his hands on a gun.
But he gets kicked out of the military. So the U.S. government, not kicked out by the recruiters. They said, no, you can't join because of your declared history of drug abuse. They don't even know about the mental illness stuff. At that point, why didn't that go into the federal background check?
I agree.
And it should have. But that's a Chuck Schumer proposal that the NRA is not exactly falling over itself to endorse. And so the NRA becomes really important.
I think when you take an inch, they're worried someone like Chuck Schumer is going to take a mile.
Right, but that's been the NRA's approach from the very beginning. And that's my issue with the NRA. My issue is not that people have a right to keep and bear arms. My issue is that everything is, if you take an inch, if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. And so you can't have anything. And so you can't close the gun show loophole, and you can't.
The gun show loophole, you can buy a gun the day that you're present. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. So like if
Very
we agree,
popular.
and the NRA agrees that there ought to be a national background check for buying guns. But they also agree that if you don't want to go through that background check, you should buy your gun at a gun shop. How does that make sense? That is not a give them an inch, take a mile situation. That's just good public policy. And that's what I want to fight about.
Well, I want to hear your experience with guns, because I didn't even know, I just assumed you had no experience whatsoever.
The liberal caricature of no firepower.
Yeah.
No, I even fired a tank round once.
Really?
Oh, I have so much to tell you. I just wonder if, because the NRA is so dominant, and because even as a member, as you're saying, like they don't necessarily support your own ideas about gun rights policies. Like, would it be better if they weren't the dominant force? You know, would it be better if there was some?
The NRA is what's called 140 years old. You know, this is where you go.
And they just dominate. They get their way on every policy issue they want. And.
But what's interesting to me is Dick Cheney comes out now saying these things when at the time he could have, made changes when he was in office. So it's a little taboo. I mean, what I'm telling you about these magazines is it's not popular here. I don't have a problem with it, but I don't own a semi-assault rifle, and I don't see the need for the average citizen to own a semi-assault rifle.
The thing that about those magazines is that there's two people on the NRA board who manufacture those high-capacity magazines. So that's exhausting to me. Because, dude, you're on the board, and so you have a material interest in them not being banned, because then you can't sell them for money anymore. And so then it's the policy position of the agent of this group that they can't exist.
Is there anything you like about the NRA?
I like the gun safety stuff that they do. They have really nice iconography, like their fonts and their
That's it.
No, I mean, I don't have any objection to anybody joining, and obviously they're a very successful organization, and I admire them for their ability to do what they want to do. But I think that they are. I think that they have a stranglehold over an issue of policy in this country that is unhelpful, because I think we have dumb policies because of them.
We have dumb policies when it comes to a lot of things.
Yeah, but the NRA decides what our gun laws are. They really do. They're super, super, super rich and super powerful.
Virginia Tech happened when I was in college, and I had a friend that was at Virginia Tech, and I just remember how scary and horrible it was. Again, someone that should never have had access to these type of weapons. So I agree with better background checks.
Yeah, the background, closing all the loopholes in the background check stuff.
I have no problem with any of this, because I don't want crazy people to have access to guns.
Right? Who
obviously.
does? Yeah.
No.
And I mean, they just said this week, maybe even yesterday, they just said this week that more than 200 people who are on the terrorism watch list were legally cleared to buy guns last year. It's not like they snuck through. Actually, if you're on the terrorism watch list, you can still buy a gun.
But I don't think law-abiding citizens should be penalized in the meantime.
No, but so let's start with the small things. Like, if you're on the terrorist watch list, you can't buy a gun. Can we all agree on that?
I'll agree with you on that one. Yeah.
And I sort of feel like if I polled every person here, I think most people would be with us on that. But the NRA is against that.
I mean,
damn you, NRA!
No, I would never say that.
I know.
Ever.
I know, but your perspective on this is, and most NRA members' perspective on these matters is so much more rational than the organization. That's what frustrates me.
I don't think that's necessarily true, but you're arguing very well, Rachel.
I'm sorry.
I think my place in this is that just culturally it was not something that was foreign or weird or scary to me at all growing up. And as I've gotten older and, lived in different places and gone different places, you realize that it's seen in such a negative light to some people. And I just want to show that, I'm 26 and I'm all the things that, liberal America sees sometimes. I lived in New York, I live in LA now, and it's not so foreign, and there's a lot of space in between where people feel like their values are being really criticized in the wrong way.
But here's the thing.
I'm not going to change your mind.
No, I accept all of those circumstances, and I just have totally the opposite conclusion. I actually think I have the sunny side of the street conclusion to this, which is weird because I'm always the cynic. But like you grew up hunting. I go fishing every weekend. I do. You enjoy guns as the machines they are and as the sort of stress relief they are. I think it's cool that they're manufactured in the United States. I think they're amazing machines, and I enjoy firing them and do whenever I can. And you and I agree about the ways in which gun laws could be reasonably tightened up without crimping people's sense of their value of their Second Amendment right, or without really harming anybody's public safety. And so that seems like a reasonable ground to move forward. But the NRA makes that so that there's a divide between us, even though all those things are in common between us.
I think you have to point the fingers at politicians as well. I mean, Chuck Schumer, I know, is introducing these bills. He's not really the person I would have speaking against it. Because
no Republican would ever defy the NRA on anything like that. Ever.
Well, I guess Dick Cheney kind of did.
Yeah,
he's a Republican.
True. Maybe Dick Cheney will lead us.
Possible.
Nick McCain and Rachel Maddow at the NRA convention.
Dick Cheney will lead us. But it's a very unpopular idea again, that's what we're saying right now is very unpopular.
Yeah.
And I don't own a semi-assault rifle, and I have friends that work in law enforcement that just plain said it's just unnecessary to have. So this is where we agree.
Yeah.
I mean, they're very powerful
We agree
weapons.
on a lot of this. We totally agree on a lot of this. And I feel like if we can agree on a lot of this, then we should probably be able to make better policy as a country. Because reasonable people can come to the same conclusion from totally different perspectives.
I agree.
We've solved it.